Hey y'all. Hey, I wanted to come back. I just was just spending some time meditating, and God just brought this to mind. And so He brought Psalms 1. Actually, He brought it to mind. We actually were at the beach with my wife. We rode our e-bike there, and just was able to get her out of the house for a little bit and get some sun. And we just had a beautiful afternoon. And I went for a quick walk on the beach while she was reading her vision book, and I was stopped, and I was just overwhelmed with just a thought of taking my son Luke back on a sidecar again. He grew up riding that with me, and so I had this vision which felt so clear of us doing that again. Yeah, so I was super excited for that, and I was just super grateful for that thought and for that dream that will become a reality. And as I was thinking about that, he's like, I heard God say that you're like a tree planted by the river. And I heard that, and because it was a beautiful day, and my feet were right where the waves finish up, like from the ocean, and they were kind of like crusting over my foot in the sand. And it was beautiful. And so that's what came to mind. It's like a tree planted by the river. And I looked it up, and it's actually from Psalms 1, which is really cool. So I wanted to read it, but so that really fascinated me, just because I think that's a cool concept of being planted by the river. Because I actually looked it up on Chat GPT, which I think is so cool. And just a side note, and this is how AI can be used well, and very well, and if you guide it. And so there's nothing wrong with AI. AI is a beautiful tool when used for the right reasons. And so I have these thoughts and visions, and I want to know, where are they on the Bible? Like, what do they mean, and all this stuff. And then so I can go back and actually look at the verse and pray about it, and meditate on it, and make sure that it's truth to my spirit and soul. So that's how I use ChatGPT, with a lot of discernment, for sure. Like, I'm very careful. But when I looked it up, it actually helped me realize some things that I didn't realize. Like, when I had that thought, tree planted by the river, like, you would just think, okay, that's where God planted it, right? And so the answer is yes, but it's not a wild tree. So there's a difference between a wild tree and one that is planted. And this is what I got from ChatGPT. So it says, Psalms 1, it says, the summary is, blessed is the one whose delight is in the law of the Lord. He is like a tree planted by streams of water. So I just was like, oh, that's cool. Cool thought. You're always nourished and things like that. But there's a difference between just being planted wild and then one that is planted, say, by a farmer. Wild trees depend on chance. Rain, when it comes, good soil if they find it. But a tree planted by a river is positioned on purpose. Its source is consistent. Its roots don't have to search far. They go deep and stay connected. So when I read that, I was just like, oh, it's just solidified the meaning of why God shared it with me. And to use AI like that is a beautiful thing. Gosh, it's beautiful. It's like having a zillion like biblical scholars at your fingertips. Like, it's amazing for that reason. I love it. But then as I was reading that, I actually went to Psalms 1, and I read the whole thing. I read the whole chapter. And the thing that stood out to me, which I really want to share, is the law. Because as most of us, when we hear the law, we think of it as something that is something that the Old Testament did, that the Hebrews did. That when you hear the words like Torah, and which is actually the Hebrew name for law, you think past. Like, yes, of course you need to follow the commandments, but now in the New Testament, Jesus came to show us love, right? Show us how to live, show us, which is, all of that is so true. But then I was thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, well then, is there, not that there's an either or there's like the law or love. Like, if our God is the same God of the Old Testament and the New Testament, then what does that mean? So how are law and love connected? because if it's the same God, then they have to be connected. But law seems like something you have to do, and love seems like it's just love, compassion, forgiveness, all of that stuff. So this is where it gets pretty fun. So again, because that question, I was thinking about it for a while and just pondering it, and then I'm like, okay, let's take a look at this. And so, oops, log out. Okay, so what I did is I was like, well, this is just factual stuff. I'm like, what's the Hebrew name for law? I'm like, because does it have anything to do with love, like the Hebrew name for love? So I looked it up, and it said, the Hebrew word most often translated as law in the Bible is Torah. And what it literally means is instruction, teaching, and guidance. So, okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere. So yes, definitely laws, yes, teaching, instruction, guidance, firm, understand. But from the Hebrew standpoint, they viewed Torah as more broader and relational, as what I'm reading here in AI. And when you think about that, they did. So to us, Torah is like a set of rules, but to them, it was a set of ways to live by. So if you think about that, think about those humans that were around. When God put us all on this planet, imagine if there was no set of no guiding principles. Imagine if there was no someone helping you along the way. We would be walking around just aimlessly, because we would have no purpose whatsoever, or even a desire for purpose. But God instilled in us a sense of morality and a longing for community. There's some foundational things, principles that he's instilled in us that we intuitively know, but we have forgotten. I actually posted on my Instagram story this thought that popped in my head. It was, I was grateful. God had opened my eyes to some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you. And so I said, thank you for revealing the truth that I already knew. So I was it just came out of my mouth, but then I started to think about it. I'm like, gosh, that's exactly what I believe. It's exactly what I believe now. Thank you for revealing the truth that I already knew. We already have everything inside of us. Our Creator created us from Him. So we are God. We are God. We are mirror to God. We are love. But we don't realize it. So that's where the rub is. We're not striving for something out there. We need to look inside, because we have everything we need. So thank you for revealing the truth that I already knew. I believe that we have all the knowledge that we will ever need. We just don't live transparently. And when I say transparent, we don't deny ourselves fully. And if you don't deny yourself fully, then there will be, of course, blockage. And it says, whoever shall deny themselves, take up their cross and follow me, will be my disciples. So yes, that's the only way that it works. And when you realize the power that's in you, if you think you are separate from God, then you are always striving for something. But when you realize that you already are a child of God, when you already realize that and you already are divine, and you have to just remember that, then the power comes within you, but it's not from you. It's from God. I hope that makes sense. So, going back to the Torah was much broader and relational, because the Torah was God's instructions for how to live. How beautiful. Okay, is that not the epitome of love? Okay, so let's keep reading. So, how we normally think of Torah is like the first 5 books of the Bible. It's God's teachings as a whole, the moral guidance, but also it's divine wisdom for life. Come on. So the law, think of it this way. The law is the modern mindset, is rules to obey. That's what I was saying. This AI is simplifying it. But the Torah is the Hebrew mindset. How they were thought is it's loving guidance to follow. So not rules to obey, but loving guidance to follow, knowing that you will be at peace, that you will be fully loved when you love the law. If that makes sense. So then what I asked, which is really cool, because I was just asking about I just focused on the law, this first, when I asked it. But then I said, how does it relate to the word love? And so this is what I thought was really cool. So here's what it says. I'm just gonna read it. And you use your own discernment. And please question everything that I say. I do not have a monopoly on truth. I am learning every day, but I want to make sure that I'm checked. And if there's any questions, I am definitely open for discussion and all of that. So I don't claim to know everything, but I do believe that because of we've gone through a lot of suffering and hung in there, that God has opened my eyes a little bit. And so you take that with a grain of salt. So, okay. I'm going to read this. This is a really profound connection, and in Hebrew thinking, law, Torah, and love are not opposites at all. They're deeply intertwined. So the Hebrew words, Torah, means instruction, guidance, and so ahava, A-H-A-V-A-H, equals love. Okay, so Torah and ahava. I can't even, it's ahava, there we go, ahava. Okay. That equals love. So at first glance, they seem different, but in scripture, they're constantly linked. Okay, so Torah flows from love. In the Hebrew worldview, God didn't give Torah to control people. He gave it because he loved them. Think of it like this. A loving parent gives instruction not to restrict a child, but to protect and help them thrive. That's Torah. That is love. That is why we as parents, we don't let our kids do everything. They want ice cream every night, but they can't have ice cream every night because they'll get diabetes or whatever. It's not healthy. We know better. And so we do it out of love. We lay down the law, and God is no different. God is no different. And so when Jesus came, he came in love to show us that we need to get back and following the Torah. I don't know where that came from, but that's what I believe. It's simple. God gave God straight from God, gave his law. He gave his law. He showed us how to live, the 10 Commandments, which the summary of those, and let's keep reading, okay? Because the summary of those is that. So love is the fulfillment of Torah. In the Bible, the greatest commandments are love the Lord your God, Deuteronomy 6:5, and love your neighbor as yourself, which is in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Old Testament is Leviticus 19:18. These aren't separate from the law. They are the summary of it. So the next one it says, which is really interesting, is obedience. So even though obedience is the law, what obedience really is love in action, right? So it all depends how you look at it. If you look at God as you got to follow a set of rules in order to have God love you, then it's going to be done out of fear or control or shame or guilt or any one of those things. If it's just obedience for the obedience sake, but the flip side of obedience from that aspect is love in action. It's doing it out of love, which is what we all want our kids to do, right? Don't do it because I asked you to do it because you want to do it, you know? Anyway, that phrase, it's do it because you love to do it. So in Hebrew thought, love wasn't just a feeling, it was demonstrated through faithfulness and action. That's how love was showed. That's how the law was experienced. So when someone follows God's Torah, it's not legalism. What it is I trust you and I love you, so I walk in your ways. So it's just so beautiful how this is sharing it, because it makes it like relevant when you read it like this. A simple way to see it is Torah without love becomes like cold rule following, but love without Torah becomes undefined and subjective, right? If we didn't have some guiding principles, then it would just whatever, you know? But Torah plus love becomes a life of aligned, purposeful living. Okay, so I want to read Psalms 1 to you because it's the summary of all of what I was talking about. So it says, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers." Okay, I messed up that last line. That was the most important line to me. Okay, so that person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Whatever they do prospers. Whatever. So if you've been through a bunch of suffering and you've hung in there and you've done the best you can, knowing that God loves you no matter what, no matter how far you fall, then you can confidently say that whatever they do prospers. Whatever I do prospers, whether in struggle, whether in pain, whether in my insecurities, whether in my strengths. All of that is for a purpose, and not only a purpose, but that purpose will prosper. So go live your life. Go live your life. Each one of us is created as a unique creation of God, and not one of us is the same. If it's not obvious, not one of us looks alike on this whole freaking planet. Thank God. But what happens on the outside happens on the inside, okay? It just does. So what happens on the outside, we all look different. Inside, we all look different. We all look different. We all are different. So seek God with all of your heart. Wherever you are, if you go to church, if you don't go to church, all of that does not matter. Doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters is that you seek God, and the rest of these things will be added unto you. Thanks.